MoTA point Ljubljana. Today we're having a talk, an artist talk, with Saginaw, aka Shigeto, from Ann Arbor, from USA, Michigan State. So the acoustics is quite fun. Anyway, so my first question would be, are you a drummer that's playing electronic music, or are you an electronic musician that's playing drums?
Oh, I'm definitely a drummer.
Okay.
Yeah. Whoa, that is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's super psychedelic. Audio psychedelic. Yeah, no, I'm definitely a drummer first. I just grew up playing drums my whole life. From about 10 years old on, rock bands, hip-hop groups, and then mainly jazz. Like maybe around the time I got into high school, it was pretty much all I was focused on. And it was my focus for many, many years, till I was about 19. I thought that's what I wanted. It was like, I want to be a jazz drummer. I want to be gigging, touring, playing jazz. That's what I wanted. So it was definitely that came well before the electronics.
Okay. So did you have like is there like a drummer that you're really looking up to, like your favorite jazz drummer?
Oh, I don't know if any one in particular, but I'm influenced by, I'd say mainly when I was growing up, Elvin Jones and Tony Williams. Because they were so opposite to me. Like Elvin was so raw and primal and dirty and rough and sloppy in a way. You know, like people weren't used to his style. And then Tony was like perfection. Every note was so syncopated, so perfect, so complex. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, how come that you got signed to such a kind of big or influential label so early in your career? I mean, you had just a few releases and bam, goes to international.
I don't know. I mean, I think many reasons. One, this industry is built on, hopefully, the good side of it is built on real relationships. So I knew the Ghostly guys for years because I was a fan. It started in Ann Arbor, and I was a local jazz drummer, and they knew who I was. They were like, "Oh, Zach, the drummer," you know. And so when I started producing, word got around that I was making electronic music, and there's a sub label of Ghostly actually called Mood Gadget. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They've been doing stuff for I don't know, maybe since the mid 2000, like 2005, 2006. I'm not even sure. But anyway, I had a lot of releases on this label because right when I started making it, this small label was interested in it just because they had known I was a local musician. And they were like, "Oh, we want to hear it." So they gave me a chance just by association.
Okay.
You know, and then throughout the years, Ghostly just pays attention to the artists on this label. Mux Mool, which is another Ghostly artist, started out on Mood Gadget, and Jacob Alexander, the guy from Mood Gadget, found Come Trues, and he never went to Mood Gadget, he just went right to Ghostly. So it's like, there's this path that, this relationship that Mood Gadget and Ghostly has. So one is knowing people. Also, over the years I realized that the drums were quite a valuable asset, and that these days everyone is making tracks and putting music out, but you don't really make a living doing that, and everyone can do it. There's nothing that can differentiate you. You can be like, "Oh, I have a label." Like tonight, I could just make a label. I could make a record label tonight, you know? So it's like, it's like the validation is gone. So the live performance has become very important, I feel. And I think that my jazz background gave me an advantage to creating a live performance because it's what I'm more comfortable with. I'm more comfortable with performing than producing, you know, because it's much newer. So I think Ghostly recognized that, and they like to have artists that are different, and not any Ghostly artist is really the same, you know. And so they were like, "Oh, I like that, maybe." And it's just, I don't know. I've worked really hard.
Yeah.
It's like put the time in. Like, got yelled at by my girlfriend every night because I wouldn't stop making music. You know, like whatever.
And
the time in.
And what was this switch? I mean, you had this image of yourself becoming a real like jazz drummer. That this is, you're gonna live. I mean, make money and live, and you're gonna be a jazz drummer. Then suddenly, what's the flick that you started making beats on I don't know, a laptop or whatever?
It actually, I always wanted to be making electronic music, and a lot of my friends were for years, and I was always the guy trying to get down, but I just didn't do it. So I'd be like, "Yo, you want to record my drums and put it in your beat or whatever?" And I never did it. There was just some fear, something just stopping me. And I developed chronic tendonitis in both my forearms in about 2004, 2005, really badly, to the point where I couldn't play drums, and I couldn't brush my teeth, and I couldn't do anything without it hurting. And I was really depressed, and so I started out of needing to do something. And then I started on GarageBand, and then my brother gave me a copy of Reason 2.0, and then I was just like, wow, I love this. I don't depend on anyone. You know, being a drummer, I needed to invite people over to jam, to create. Like, there was no way for me to play the piano and sing or play guitar. It was just, play some more drums. So it was like, when I had the whole orchestra, I just became addicted to it and kept doing it and didn't really think it was going to become anything. But then as soon as I heard that Ghostly was interested, like they were interested in me for years, but nothing ever happened. But as soon as I just heard that, I just couldn't stop. I was like, now I want this. Now I have to do this. I need to get on this label, like, somehow, because it was such a childhood influence. So, yeah. So,
and then, did you make like you have like 3 albums out. The first two, did you make them in New York?
The first one, where did I make those tracks? I made them in Ann Arbor, right before I moved to New York, and finished it in New York. Yeah, and then Lineage was written completely in New York. And No Better Time Than Now is completely written in Detroit. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you decide to move back from New York back to Michigan to Detroit? And I mean, why did you decide to move to Detroit actually?
Yeah, so many reasons. The reason I left New York in particular was I'm older and I don't go out and I work in clubs and venues. So I never go out. So I never use New York for what it is. And I pay insane amounts of money for rent for a box that I'm in half the year. So I was like, I need to leave. And then I thought it's probably a good time to go home. Maybe like, you know, I haven't lived at home properly for like 10 years. Maybe it'd be cool to get back and build something there. And then Detroit's always been a huge influence of mine, and my father is from Detroit, and my grandfather made his home there, but I would never lived there, so I was like, this would be a great time to go there. I want to stay in a city environment. I don't want to go to my hometown. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
And so how is Detroit? I mean, all we hear is it's bankrupt, it's empty, it's devastated, it's like a huge empty city. So this is the news that we get, but like from first hand, like...
Detroit. Detroit is from part of a new generation of people that are living there, from somebody who isn't from Detroit. I have to say, actually kind of quoting a friend of mine and my tour manager, Laurent, who's sitting over there, or standing over there. It's a city where people still dream and people act on that. And it's a place that is very, very scarred, that no one can really understand unless they're from there, even if you've lived there. And you really can't understand that place unless you go there, and you should go there. It's unlike any place in the world, and it looks like it got hit by a hurricane, and it didn't. You know, but yet there's so much power and creativity and beauty that has always come from that place. Like, the history is richer. It's so intense. Yeah, you should just go there.
Okay. And is there like a small trend of young people moving to Detroit because it's like a different, like most of the cities are like, there's a huge process of gentrification, yeah. So it's getting more expensive, and in Detroit this is not happening, so there's
but it is.
It is happening.
Yeah, there was a very short period where it was kind of like the gold rush.
Okay.
Where people were the word of $1 buildings and all this was going around. But the fact is, it's a city, it's the world, it's broke. People are greedy. The locals, the natives of Detroit, in a lot of areas are being basically pushed out of their houses that they've lived in for years for gentrification in a lot of areas. For somebody like us, you'd be like, this is a dreamland. Yeah. Oh my God, I can have a house and a studio, and I save all this money. Everything is so cheap. Like, people in Detroit, it's like they're trying to survive, you know. So it's not like this happy, like, amazing wonderland where you can go and just swoop up property. It's like definitely become this kind of twisted environment. But the thing is, there's always two sides. So it is a better place. I feel really strongly it's a better place than it was, and it's changing. And you have the people that are changing it in the right way. But it's by no means like this beautiful revolution, because it's like the Native Americans being pushed out by the fucking pilgrims. Like, basically.
So the whole album was made in Detroit.
Yeah.
And as I know, the process, I mean, technically the album was made a bit differently than the ones before, and also like you had like much more space and everything. And so could you tell us just a little bit about this process of making No Better Time Than Now? What's the main difference from the album before this one?
I think technically the main difference is that I've acquired a lot more instruments in the last couple of years, and I moved into a much bigger studio. It's not like a nice, proper, soundproof studio. It's actually just a massive loft that any audiophile would be like, what are you doing? This is sacrilegious. But it's just, the vibe is really good for me. And I can record drums for the first time, my whole kit. I'm not in an apartment in Brooklyn. It's like a big, big difference. So I think it's much more organic. It's much more based on playing and recording live audio than very precise programming and sitting there working out my tracks. It's more about putting together music that I've just recorded. And then personally, I finally feel comfortable to say what I want to say. Like, I think any artist, no matter what age they are, at the start of an alias, for many of us, we're influenced by stuff more than we want to be. And I think once you have a sense of security with whatever it is, your own music or your fan base, you know, if you feel that you have a small pocket of people that get you and know what you do and will trust to go new places, then I think you can be more creative. And I think I just feel better about that whole side of things musically in general, yeah.
And now that you're in Detroit, do you have some more time? Like, do you ever go out? Is there like a scene or I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene, but it's like most of the stuff I go to is more like friends' lofts stuff, and you know, Kyle Hall and Jay Daniel put on really great shows, just loft parties, house and techno shows, and but I don't really go out, like I'm always out. I'm just like, I have to be out. So when I'm at home, I'm chilling, man. I'm in the studio or at the house smoking a split, like maybe not even listening to music. Like, I'm just zoning.
And but you do like really lots of shows. Like, I don't know, I read somewhere that, I don't know, maybe a year ago that you did like, I don't know, 150 shows in 1 year or something like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. The time is now, you know. It's an exhausting thing to tour, and I feel like I have to do it now. It's like, it's a good time to do it. The shows are there. It's my main source of income, and I love performing, you know, but it's really, it's something that I know I can't do when I'm, you know, 10 years from now. I physically won't be able to do it, I don't think, the way I'm doing it now. I won't be able to do it 5 years from now. So it's like, you know, the last 2 years have been 6 months on the road pretty much every year. And but it's, I don't know, it's amazing, I don't know. It's exhausting and incredible to share my music with people so far away that I didn't even know, listen to.
Yeah. And okay, last question, I think, because I have to go and DJ.
You have to go and eat.
Do the warm-up.
Because we're playing a show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Damn. Yeah.
So what do you think of this trend, of this overwhelming amount of free music that's out there at the moment, and this Bandcamp phenomenon where, like, all of a sudden there's lots of talent out there, and well, even more music, and like Bandcamp is going strong at the moment, and I don't know, maybe 80% of music on Bandcamp is free. So my question, do you think it's positive or negative? Because for me the problem is that then you have a problem. First of all, you cannot go through all of it, and the second problem is, how do you value music if you just say, oh, this one is free, so I'm going to download it, this one is not free, I'm not even going to listen to it, or I don't know, or something like this.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about that. The death of the music industry, the death of the record, the death of an album and listening to it from start to finish. All of these things, the death of the label, the death of everything, you know, the whole, everything is different now because of the internet and because of the technology we have. It's not just free music, it's free photography, free information. It's everything. It's free movies. It's like, and not just is the product free, but making it is easy. You can have anyone can download Ableton and make beats. Anyone can take pictures now with their iPhone. Anyone can say they're a journalist because they have a blog. You know, it's all so saturated. And yes, like, you could be really bitter about it. And you could be like, oh, we're all fucked. But, you know, I don't know, embrace it. Embrace the change. I think that I don't agree with the way things are. I wish you still had to be really incredible. I don't know. I wish people still listen to albums and they were forced to get the whole album. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
But it's just not like that. You know, so there's a new way you have to do things. And things are changing and we don't know where they're going. You know, I was talking to Laurent too about how the artist versus the label, and how labels used to be the quality control, and it's what people trusted. And now, people don't even know what labels artists are on, and they're about following the persona, and they're about the artist. There's artists that are touring the world and selling out huge venues that have never released an album, and they only have a SoundCloud page, or, you know, but what that means is there's no rules. And having no rules is pretty fucking cool. You know, it means you can do anything. It means anything is possible. So I like that I'm with Ghostly. I like that I'm on a label. I wish people wouldn't steal my music. But you can't fight that, you know? What I do like is that I made a career out of blabbing on the internet. It's like, and it saturates it. There's a lot of, you know, the more it gets this way with accessible technology and communication, the more crap music and crap art and crap movies. It's like obvious, you know, there's crap everywhere. But the thing is, the bar line of quality will be higher in the end. Like, that's how I see it. Because the possibilities are so much greater. It's like, it's always turning. I mean, I'm blabbing, but it's like, it's always turning. It's like, no one got wedding bands anymore, and they started hiring DJs. And now when people see a guy playing drums with a laptop, they're like, oh my God! Instrument? What? He had an instrument. Did you? That guy was playing a real instrument. It's like, yeah, that's what we've been doing for hundreds of years. It's great. But things are changing. Like, the bar line is, basically the possibilities are so endless that we're just going to make really, really amazing art. But you just have to accept the fact that there's going to be so much crap.
But like your last album was quite it's an album. There are no standout tracks. It has like it tells a story. If I say it really corny in a corny way. So did the album do well? As it is, like, it's not like just a chunk of tracks.
I mean, I don't know what an album doing well is anymore.
Yeah.
But we sold out.
So, yeah.
And it's gotten the best response out of any release I've ever had. And I usually try to not listen to my reviews, but the good ones actually are saying things that I wish people would think that I'm trying to say. So I'd say it has been a success.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.